Hi, welcome to my video on my take on healing the gut and why it's so important. I guess where I'm coming from is a point of removing the overwhelm, particularly for some of you guys that have just been diagnosed or recently diagnosed with Hashimoto's, antibodies, or any form of autoimmunity, or in fact just ongoing digestive issues and perhaps heading towards autoimmunity. We're all very caught up, and I see that in this group a lot, on what should I eat, what shouldn't I eat, and obviously it's important. It's looking for the magic cure essentially, and I've been there, and I totally was allowing my Hashimoto's to rule my life and literally run my world, and I was tired because of Hashimoto's, and I was this because of Hashimoto's, and everything was because of Hashimoto's, and food was very much the same for me. I'm still very careful about what I eat, but hopefully I'm just trying to get across my first approach. Obviously, the best approach ultimately is to work with a practitioner who understands autoimmunity and can guide you through the process and do some of this in more detail. I guess this is the how-to version, keeping it simple, staying off Dr. Google, which is stressful, right? And just at least making some progress into your health, getting yourself in a state where you're starting to feel well enough to maybe work with a practitioner or then take a different pathway. There's a lot of information out there and it's very stressful. And my aim for this group has always been to try and keep it simple and keep it real and recognize that people are not wanting to go to the extremes that some of the practitioners, some of these people that write books recognize and recommend out there. Is I certainly couldn't do some of that stuff. You know, I do like to be able to have a glass of wine on a weekend, and I do now occasionally, sometimes more than occasionally. I like to keep it real. Anyway, so hopefully this helps. I'll try and keep it as short as I can, but just a quick overview. I will call the gastrointestinal system or tract or digestive system, whatever you want to call it. I will refer to that as the gut because I find that it's just what I do. So basically, quick overview, we all probably know in this group or whomever's watching this that the gastrointestinal tract is the interface between the body and our food, right? So what we eat, the gut lining, essentially, is the barrier between our body and our food or anything else that we put in, any toxins that we do put in, alcohol or anything else that we happen to swallow or ingest. So this barrier, therefore, it keeps these toxic products out, theoretically, and it lets the nutrients that we need to absorb to be well and to run all our processes through. That's if it's working well and it's working properly and it's working healthily. So essentially, every single thing that we eat or drink, it's sending signals to our body. One way or another, it's sending signals to our body, and it's telling our body basically to respond accordingly. So we need to make sure that those are the right symbols. Also, our gut has 70% of our immune system. There's around 2 kilos of bacteria or microbes in our gut. The average person has around 2 kilos. So it's pretty important that we get it right. Most of us have pretty bad digestive systems from antibiotics as a child or as an adult, or hormones and toxins in our water. Chlorine is killing our bacteria. There's just, I could go on forever, but I won't. Okay, also there's the poor food choices that we make these days. There's fast food, there's no fermented foods. People don't ferment things anymore. We have fridges, so we're not even feeding our bacteria the right foods generally, even when we're eating healthily. So for us, what are poor food choices? I'm talking low nutrient foods and high calorie foods. So like high processed foods, muesli bars, breakfast cereals, meat pies at the football, vegetable oils, processed nutrient, like what I call empty calories, basically. So empty nothingness. They're high calorie. Now, I don't worry about calories generally if it's high nutrient, high calorie, but if it's low nutrient, high calorie, then it's a poor food choice, okay? Also, another thing that I guess we don't tend to think of as a poor food choice is it's foods that we know we actually know this stuff, right? We know are creating us to feel unwell. Hence, it's likely we've got a current intolerance to this food. I'm not talking about allergic foods or anaphylaxis, because I don't think anyone would be eating nuts if they were anaphylactic to them, but we tend to eat foods that we know aren't doing us the best. Okay, at the moment in time when you're trying to heal your gut, they are a poor food choice. Don't eat them. Okay, set yourself a time. We'll talk about that later. Your intolerance isn't likely to last forever for these foods. Once we heal your gut, often, very often, in fact, I found that a lot of these foods are able to be eaten again, sometimes in small portions, sometimes irregularly, sometimes fine, with the exception of gluten. Gluten, I have posted about this before. I don't believe anyone with any autoimmunity should eat gluten. And I won't go into that now. You can read previous posts. I think there's a blog on my website about that. Okay, so when your gut lining is not healthy, it's essentially leaky. It's letting things in and out that it shouldn't do. It's probably got bigger holes. Think a broken sieve when you're trying to sieve something and things are getting through sieving your chicken stock and bits of chicken bone are falling through, right? That's what's happening. You're getting products into your bloodstream that aren't supposed to be there, or they're not supposed to be there in the large size that they're at. They're going in this big when they should be going in broken down and this small. So that's going to bacteria get through that shouldn't get through. So we need our bacteria there, but we don't necessarily want them in our blood or in our joints causing pain. Okay, so this is why we need our digestive system healthy. It's causing inflammation, it's causing pain in our joints, it's creating intolerances because our foods are getting through and digested or not digested properly, and therefore we're causing more inflammation. So more inflammation and more pain and inflammation and tiredness and feeling yucky in the tummy, which makes us feel yuck, right? Okay, so we need to have a healthy population of bacteria. These bacteria support this barrier. They produce products which line and nurture our cells, our colon cells and our small intestine cells, so that they're healthy and they've got the right amount of mucus and things move in and out. Also, our bacteria are key for making vitamins such as vitamin K, B12, things that we're not great or good, generally we can't produce ourselves. So we need those. They're really vital cofactors, and B12 is really important in methylation in a lot of processes in the body, actually. Vitamin K regulates our blood clotting, and amongst many other things as well. So how does all this relate to autoimmunity, basically? Let's get on to what we're looking at. Okay, so let's think about it. We've got stress, we've got toxins, we've got food particles that we shouldn't have, we've got pathogens that are in there because our bacteria in our gut aren't well. So we've got all these things that are in the wrong proportions. They're all causing our gut, right? That our gut's getting inflamed, and our food, therefore we're getting food intolerances that we didn't previously have because our body is getting hyper alert. Basically, it's overreacting to everything. And then our immune system's then gone crazy, like the feedback loop's just gone, okay? So our immune system's it's ready for World War III. It's ready to go. And therefore, that's when we start to become autoimmune. And then we start to feel really bad as well. Okay, so the other thing with our digestive system, it contains the enteric nervous system. So that helps us to feel what's happening in our stomach. So think butterflies in your stomach, that nervous anxiety. Obviously, our enteric nervous system, it doesn't think about politics, it doesn't think about actual thinking things, but it sends messages backwards and forwards. So that's anxiety, that's depression, that's the feelings of anxiousness that we have, particularly that I've experienced, and I'm sure you guys have with Hashimoto's. Okay, so our gut is out of whack, and these messages are going haywire from our stomach. Studies have shown that poor microbes are highly related to anxiety and depression. So what can we do about all of this? Essentially, that's the short version of a very, very big topic. So what I do what I would advise you to do without working with a practitioner. So it's quite the simple version, but it's something that can make a really big difference. Now, you would look at the obvious foods. Always get rid of gluten and dairy straight away. You can choose whether you get rid of grains. I know it's a big thing. I healed my gut without actually getting rid of grains. I do know the grains that I can eat. Listen to your body. Listen to the foods that are poor food choices for you right now. You know you've got a good idea, and take those foods out. Okay, so we're looking at healing and sealing our guts. Okay, we can't do that until we weed and seed our gut. Okay, so we've got to, what I mean by that is we've got to get rid of all these pathogens. We've got to stop damaging and creating inflammation. Okay, so we've got to heal our gut by taking away anything that's going to inflame it. And these are the things that are going to inflame your gut. Stress. Okay, do some stress management techniques. Meditate. If you don't want to meditate, do 5 minutes of breathing, deep breathing every day, morning and night, as much as you can. Go for a walk in the fresh air. Try really, really hard. Stop focusing on your Hashimoto's and stop Googling Dr. Google. Okay, so deal and remove your stress. Remember the enteric nervous system, that's going to be flaring up and inflaming your gut. Okay, so we want to remove or reduce our stress. We want to get rid of toxins out of our system. So get a water filter. If you need recommendations, I know I've got a good one, or at least just get a Brita water filter, or something's better than nothing. Start to get rid of the fluoride and the chloride. Don't be ingesting that, because that's just killing off bacteria. And also really bad for your thyroid, right, if you've got Hashimoto's. So that's more toxins. Think about the products that you're using in your home. Get rid of chemicals. Choose an eco-friendly brand. Actually, I can tell you about one of those too. If PM me, and I can give you some good information on all of this stuff, right? Everything I recommend in here, I'm using. Change your wash powder, change your shampoo. It's not actually that hard, and it doesn't have to be expensive. Okay, so that's moving some of your toxins out. Get rid of those foods that you know irritate you. Get rid of the key foods, gluten, dairy, quite possibly egg, quite possibly nuts and seeds. What else? So tomatoes can be irritating, but just pick some key foods that you know are irritating. Definitely take gluten out, and definitely take dairy out, and anything else that you know affects you, and get rid of them for at least 3 weeks while you're going through this process. Okay, so you're taking all of that away. You're starting to heal. You're starting to allow your natural body's processes to work. So then what do we need to do? Then we need to add in some repair work, like help our bodies to repair. And what I recommend for that is a probiotic called Saccharomyces boulardii, or I think it's also known as Saccharomyces cerevisiae, and I'll type it in the comments or something. This actually helps. It produces secretory IgA, and that helps seal and start to heal up some of those holes. You can also make chicken bone broth. I think there's a recipe for that on my website as well, but it's fairly easy. I prefer chicken because I can't stand the smell of the meat bones, and I find it works really well. You can take collagen powder in your smoothies. And so that's all like plugging up the holes and allowing our body to heal. We can eat, if you can tolerate things like sweet potato, orange vegetables are very good at encouraging secretory IgA as well. Take high dose, good quality fish oils. They're anti-inflammatory and they're healing. We're looking at calming down the inflammation in the body, which is also calming down the inflammation in the gut. Turmeric capsules, or you can make turmeric tea. And take a good liver support, because while we're doing all of this, we're creating quite a lot of toxicity. You're going to get die off because things are going to start to die. You also want to add in there, some people like to wait. I prefer to add them in straight away. High dose, good quality, broad spectrum probiotic again. You're welcome to have a free chat with me. I do 15-minute free chats, and once I've spoken with you, I can recommend a probiotic or in your area, or I can get that to you, but only when I've spoken to you. Otherwise, I can't prescribe. Okay, so where are we up to? We've healed, we're healing and we've got rid of everything that's causing problems, and we're adding in the probiotics. We're getting rid of stress. We need to add in, make sure we've got plenty of healthy fats, coconut oil, avocado oil, if you're eating avocado. These are antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. Okay. So we've removed the stress. We've got rid of all of our toxins out of our water, out of our wash powders, out of our dishwashing powders, we're not adding to our toxic load. We're healing our stomach by taking Saccharomyces. This is a key one. The other thing that you can do is take an antimicrobial herb. I find the Saccharomyces works better, and I tend not to do them at the same time. So to keep it simple, I would stick with the Saccharomyces initially. If you want to or need to get more complicated, that's when you start to work with a practitioner. And you do all of this for at least 3 weeks. And then you should be starting to feel quite a lot better, okay? You can take a good quality magnesium, usually around 400 milligrams a day. That'll help with the gut motility. It'll help to get your energy levels back, and a good antioxidant such as coenzyme Q10. I think everyone should be on this stuff at the moment. Around 150 a day should be good, and that works as an antioxidant. It also helps create ATP out of your cells. So all of this is healing you and hopefully making you feel a heck of a lot better and reducing your antibodies. And we're just purely talking about regenerating your gut health right now. After about 3 weeks, you can try introducing some of those foods. Be very careful, particularly if you've ever had a food reaction in the past. So when you've laid off a food for a few weeks, sometimes you can have quite an intense reaction to it. Eat that food at least 2 or 3 times during a day, and note really carefully for 3 days whether or not you have any reactions to it. If you do or you don't, lay off the food still and introduce your next food. Make a note. And only at the end, when you've reintroduced all of your foods, you're still taking your probiotics, you're still taking your Saccharomyces, then you can start to pull back on your doses of your probiotics. Add in some kombucha, ferment your cabbage, start to think about getting these foods naturally. And I forgot to mention, I'm really sorry, apple cider vinegar in the morning in some warm water, a tablespoon, perfect always for healing your gut. This is also going to encourage your bile to flow and get your acid levels correct in your stomach, and that will encourage the correct bacteria to be there instead of the pathogens too, so that will also help. So I'm going to summarize now. Hopefully I can summarize. This is my hopefully simple approach. Don't eat the foods, don't eat gluten, dairy. Don't eat the foods that you know are affecting you, okay? If you don't know, you can get food testing done. I'm not sure about how effective that is. Kinesiology testing can be really useful too. I use that with my clients. So take those foods out. Put probiotics back in, put Saccharomyces boulardii in. Saccharomyces boulardii will create the IgA. It will help to heal your gut. It also attacks pathogenic bacteria and gets rid of those. Support the diet from that with a liver support tablet. There's lots of liver support out there on the market, but again, you can PM me, we can have a chat if you want some information. Take some fish oils, take some turmeric, eat some foods that encourage your IgA as well. Take some collagen, that also helps to repair the gut, and add some bone broth in, and get rid of all the crap out of your water and all of your around you that's around in your environment, your wash powder, your dishwasher powder. Again, I can help you with that if you need. So look, I have really, really hope this has helped. I hope it wasn't too complicated, and I hope it can help you work through step by step. I am going to put a document together to go with this, and I'll be putting it out there as soon as I've got around to getting that done. Although it is school holidays coming up, so it might be a while. Okay, take care. Mwah.